Hello Gunpla fans, this is DZ Maven here, and once again it is time for another Gunpla review. Now I know it's a few days after Independence Day, but I figure in the spirit of things, let's talk about freedom. More specifically, the Freedom Gundam. And here I have the real grade Freedom Gundam. I built it a few years ago. This was surprisingly a pretty good kit for me, and I want to take a look at it for you guys. So here it is right here. Got it in sort of a action-y pose for you here. And let's get this thing spinning around here for you here so you can see it from all sides here. So starting off with the overall look and details of this kit here. I personally think this is probably one of the best looking real grade kits straight out of the box that I have built so far. I know before this kit I wasn't really that big a fan of the Freedom Gundam or even its successor, the Strike Freedom Gundam. But after building this, I actually kind of like the Freedom Gundam now. I think it's actually a pretty nice looking design. I like the color scheme of it, and it is a little bit different from some other Gundams you've seen. Probably the closest comparison to an older Gundam I'd probably say is probably one of the Gundam X Gundams, like the Gundam Double X maybe. It's kind of sort of like that. I've heard some people say it's kind of based off the Double X, and I can kind of see the similarity, but I think the color scheme is actually pretty nice on the Freedom here, and detail-wise, it's pretty much what you would expect out of a real grade line. Everything is molded in color. It's got lots of nice paneling opportunities throughout the kit here. Even really minor details like the little dark blue thing on the side of the skirt and armor. You get a piece for that. You do get two tones of white. You get your standard white and a little bit of an off-white color on this. So you do get that two-tone color scheme on here. A lot of little tiny parts in the head. The little faceplate is really tiny on this here, so you want to be really careful handling that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pick it up and kind of show you this real quick here, up close here. But the cutouts, you do get cutouts on the headpiece there, but I think they're probably maybe slightly too big in my opinion, because they do kind of stand out a little bit too much, but it could just be me, so my opinion. But beam rifle's molded pretty nicely here. You don't have any stickers for that blue piece there. That is a blue plastic piece there. Probably only a little bit of coloring on this kit that I'm aware of, but you probably would have to do, but really not even necessary. Is the clear piece inside the beam rifle scope there. That comes clear, but it really should be a blue color, but it's probably not that big a deal, but yeah. But other than that, everything on here is colored up nicely, even the little plasma beam cannons inside the wings there. And these wings, they separate out pretty nicely here. They look pretty nice when they're all separated out, which I'll show you in the articulation part. But overall, this guy looks pretty darn good straight out of the box here. And if you pan line him up and do just a really, really tiny bit of detail painting just to make some things stand out on him, it just looks incredible. So this guy gets a 10 out of 10 on the detail score for me, so it is pretty sweet looking. Alright, so let's talk about articulation on this guy here. Bring him in close here so you can see here. The head's got a pretty good range of motion on it. Nothing really to complain about there. It's what you expect out of real grade. You can look up and down pretty well here and go side to side. Here, that little back collar piece does kind of get in the way of making him go around, but he will make it around though if you need to. So, arms, you get a nice double joint out of the arms if you need to, like that. They can bend up a little more than that just because the beam rifle is kind of in the way right there. It'll bend up like that. And a little shoulder piece right here kind of sticks out a little bit. It sticks out pretty far though, actually, when it bends the arm, but I mean that's the way it's supposed to be. Shoulder armor, move up and down a little bit here. This little piece inside the shoulder here can move a little bit here. Let me see if I can grab it here. Yeah, a little thruster can move down if it needs to. And the whole arm can bend up like so, if need to be. And it can bend forward pretty well here. There's a little joint right in there. Typical of real grade frame technology. The only problem I have noticed with the arm is that the arm does kind of sag a little bit on me. It could just be because of age or something. I don't know if I can get to do it here. I know I've been trying to pose him with the beam rifle out, but he kind of sags a little bit over time here. I think his I think the joints are just getting kind of old on my kit here. That's probably why. Cockpit will open up a little bit, just kind of flips open a little bit there, and just barely see inside the cockpit there. That's right there. Let's close that back up. Torso has your typical range of motion in the torso here. Pretty good here. It does get kind of weighed back by the wings here, so it will kind of leaning back a lot, I've noticed, so just kind of got to be aware of that. Can rotate around a little bit, but not a whole lot. It is kind of constricted a little bit. I think it's because of these giant rail cannon pieces are kind of keeping it from rotating around all the way. Skirt armor can flip up like so if need be. These railgun pieces, they're kind of big and they do kind of get in the way of the legs. They can kind of rotate around a little bit and they don't really move up and down that much, so they do kind of get in the way of the legs, so I can't really spread the legs out very well because of that. And black skirt armor can move just a little bit, like so. These little thrusters, I think they can move just a slightly bit amount, but not much. There are some other thrusters up inside here, right there. Those can move a little bit, right there. Just a little minor detail you're probably not going to pay too much mind to because it gets kind of hidden. Moving on down to the legs here. As you can see here, I've got one leg that's kind of bent already, and there's some part separation along the knee here. Along the black piece here comes out, and this white piece slides up. Pretty nice. And it is, pick them back up. There is a split in the upper leg here. Try and show you right here. Very slight right there. Kind of comes apart like so. There's a little back thruster on the leg here. This little piece moves. There is some armor split along the lower leg here, like so. And while I'm showing you that, you got the foot here, can bend forward about that far, and can bend back about that much there. Pretty nice there. And skirt armor is attached to the ankle piece right there, so it's not going to come off or anything. So, and side to side on the foot, about that much here. Pretty decent here. For posing wise, you do want to get a action base for this guy because, as you know, he's got some big wings on the back, and his center of gravity is kind of leaning towards the back side of him, so get an action base for him. So it'll just look a lot better when he's up in the air than standing on the ground. Alright, so let's talk about the wings here. So probably the easiest way is for me to just take this off here and show you here. So just going to do that and set it aside here. So the wings for, this is a real great kit, you got to remember here, but the wings are pretty big here for such a small kit. So you can kind of put them together kind of like so here, so they're kind of folded together like that, and point them down like so for probably standing poses like that. But you really kind of want to show off these wings here. They're pretty nice here. So they can bend up about that far here. There's a little joint here that goes back and forth like so. These little pieces here, they can move individually. There's 3 of these. Sometimes these do get a little loose and you kind of have to push the wing bits back together again here because it kind of comes apart as you're moving it around, I've noticed. So all you gotta do is kind of push this back together again, and that should tighten these back up again so they don't hang loose and so, hang loose down like that. Now up here, this does split apart here like so. This top piece splits like that, and if you can arrange this right, you can get all these wings kind of spread out pretty nicely here. See if I can get the railgun up out of the way hidden. It's a little tricky to do sometimes, but you want to get that full effect. You have to kind of play around with it a bit, which is why I took this off the back, because it's a little hard to do it while it's on the actual Gundam here. So that's kind of like the full spread right there. So, and if you want the plasma gun, you have to kind of bend it out like so, and then it comes forward like that, like so. Now these plasma guns are pretty nice, but honestly they are a pain in the butt to pose on the kit. I seem to have this problem all the time where I cannot get these things to look right while I'm posing it. Either they're too close to the head and they bump up against the V-fin on the head, or they just end up kind of laying like this, which isn't really straight. So it's a neat concept, but it doesn't really sit over the shoulders very well, and you got to be careful bending this around and in and out, because the joint this is on is really, really tight, And I have found that sometimes I bend it and this tire back piece splits and the railgun falls off. So gotta be real careful handling this sometimes. So, but if you can get it into the full burst pose, good on you, because you might want to keep it that way and not mess with it again. So, but if you do get into that pose, it looks pretty nice here. So you just gotta kind of fiddle around with it for a while until it looks right for you here. And oops, as you can see right there, one of these has started to go loose on me right here. So gotta squeeze that back together again, and it should be okay. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I would say articulation-wise, the real grade Freedom it's pretty good overall, but there are some areas where it does get kind of constricted right around the hips and everything. I can't really get these wings out, and the wings are kind of a bit of a pain in the butt to deal with while they're on the kit, so you have to kind of take those off. And the arms do kind of sag a little bit on it, so this is going to get a 8 out of 10 from me on the articulation score. So that's not bad. It's still pretty good, but there are some areas where it could be improved if Bandai were to do this over again someday. So let's talk about the extras here. So for the Freedom Gundam, there's really not a whole lot in terms of extras. You got a beam rifle, a shield, beam sabers, hands. That's kind of it. I can show you. Like I already showed you before, the beam rifle is actually pretty nice on it. It does have a little peg on the back right here for pegging onto the back skirt armor, and a little peg hole right there. The shield is pretty nice looking, some nice detail on it here. It does come with a little peg to attach to the back of the elbow right there, and there is a fixed pose handle on this. It doesn't bend or anything. You have to kind of take it off and stick it into a different spot along the shield here, though realistically, though, you're probably only going to keep it in one spot, like right here, because that's the spot where the hand can actually hold on to it. If you put it in any other spot, it's just not really going to be able to hold the shield, so, yeah. Beyond that, you do get your beam sabers. You get 2 of these. They are stored on the little racks on the side of the skirt armor here. I seem to have lost one, but I'll try and find it again here. The beam sabers that come with this guy are quite long. I don't know if you can see this. They're actually taller, makes the beam saber taller than the Gundam itself here. I think these are 1/100 scale beam sabers because these are really big, but they still look okay. They're just kind of a little bit oversized, I think. In terms of hands, you do get your real grade hands that come with this for typical and real grade kits. For a trigger holding hand, you only get one, surprisingly, and it's only for the beam rifle. You don't get one for the left hand, which would have been nice to have, but I guess it's not really essential to have. For holding the beam sabers, you have to use the real grade hands. As much as I probably hate that, but the real grade hands do an okay job of holding the beam saber, so I can't really complain about it too much here. But I just have a preference for having the fixed pose hands because I think they're just easier to use on these kits and they just look better. It's just my opinion here. In terms of other hands, you do get your standard fist hands. You get a pair of these here, which are okay. And you do get one open hand. This is only for the left hand. It's this big open spread hand, which is kind of interesting looking. I've heard this is supposed to link up with the open hand on the real grade Justice Gundam. If you, for some reason, want to pose them together with their hands holding, which is a little strange, but okay. Oh, and before I forget, I need to talk about a couple other things on this guy here. I forgot to talk about these side rail guns here and how they fold out and everything here, but they come out like so here, like that. This goes back, and just kind of line them up like so here. There is a little handle that pops out if you want to have it holding the railgun for some reason, just right there. So they don't really, you can't really aim these very well. They just kind of point straight ahead. That's it. So they're okay. They look pretty nice for what they are, but I prefer to not have these folded out most of the time. Forgot to mention that the beam sabers do combine on the ends here to form a really long double beam saber. If you want to have that for some reason, again, the real grade hand can hold it pretty well without any trouble here, but with those larger scale beam sabers, the double-ended beam saber is extremely long. So be careful with posing it when it's like that here. Besides all that, you do get a little There's supposed to be a 1/44 Kira Yamato figure with this as well, but I don't really have it on me. It's probably in the box somewhere, which I don't have anywhere right now. So, but I have read that there is one. I just don't have it on me. So, just gonna have to kind of take my word for it here. So, and of course you get a little action base adapter for the action base, which is essential for this guy. So, make sure you use that because it's really helpful. So, in terms of extras, I give this guy an 8 out of 10. For what they are, they're pretty good, but like I said, there are some kind of iffy areas on the extras. I think the handle on the shield probably could have been better designed, so that it could actually move around a little bit. And the beam sabers probably could have been better sized up, really. And it would have been nice to have a fixed pose gripping hand for the left hand here on it. But other than that, it's pretty good extras. I mean, but yeah, there's some room for improvement. Again, if Bandai were to do this over again. So, alright, let's talk about value of this kit here. This real grade kit came out in November of 2011, so it's about almost 6 years old. Well, maybe not quite 6 years, maybe just over 5 years, I'd say. And it retails for 2,500 yen, which is about $21. In real grade prices, that's a pretty average price. Although real grades have been tending to be more expensive lately, so I guess the average is probably going up. But for $21, that's a pretty good price. But like I said, if you're in the West, you're probably going to be pay a little bit more. So, but I think it's probably worth it. I think it's a really nice looking kit. Comparison-wise, alternatives. There's the high grade CE Freedom Gundam, which came out not too long ago, I think only a couple years ago. That goes for 1,700 yen, it's about $14. If you don't want to deal with any real grade shenanigans or any that amazing real grade stuff, you can get that and probably be satisfied for $14. Or if you want to have something in a larger scale, 1/100 scale, there is the Master Grade 2.0 of the Freedom Gundam, which a lot of people gush over and say is absolutely amazing. And that goes for 4,500 yen, which is about $39. So I think the real grade is probably somewhere right in the middle between the high grade CE and the Master Grade 2.0. So if you want a really, really good looking version of the Freedom in 1/44th, the real grade is probably the best bet. If you want something larger scale, obviously you should get the 2.0 with the Master Grade. So I would say for value score, I think this is still a pretty good price for a pretty good kit. So it's going to get a 9 out of 10 from me. Like I said, the only exception is if you want a larger scale kit, there's the Master Grade 2.0, which is a pretty awesome kit from what I hear. So at the end of this, so what is the real grade Freedom total up to? This gets a 35 out of 40, which makes it a pretty darn good Gunpla kit. If you have been thinking about picking this guy up, definitely pick it up. I recommend it. It's really, really nice. And like I said at the beginning of this, I wasn't really that big a fan of the Freedom Gundam before I got this kit, but after getting it, I actually kind of like it now. It's actually a pretty good Gundam design, and the real grade kit is actually pretty good. Despite that it has a few, it may not be 100% perfect, but I think it is still pretty good for what it is. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that review. Found it informative. If you liked my video, please be sure to leave a like below. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe because I always got more reviews coming. I still got plenty of older stuff to review. I may not get to too many more newer kits during the summer here because I'm busy with the Perfect Grade Strike. And I'm probably waiting on the Master Grade ZZ 2.0 to come out before I buy any other kits. So it's probably just going to be old kits until then. So, anyway guys, hope you enjoyed. See you next time, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.